Hey, I'm Cecily Korst. Welcome to the trailer.
Sponsored by Imaging DNA. Ideas, images, insight. The core of the conversation is the image at imagingdna.com.
I'm Raegan Payne, the good muse. So I consider myself a storyteller, as well as the acting. Like, all the acting, people would be like, are you a writer or an actor? Are you a writer or a novelist or a playwright? Or do you write TV episodes? Because sometimes I do that. And people are like, well, what's your calling? I'm like, I'm a storyteller. So whatever, genre I have to use or whatever tools I have, I'm going to do that to tell a story. And so that applies to a lot of different forms.
So you were here about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been this past year's pinch me moment for you?
Oh. So I'm lucky to have several pinch me moments from this year. I had a week or 2 weeks I guess it was August, where Ladies Home Journal called me to do a story on me. I had a couple other blog interview requests. And then I found out that my plays were going up for 2 solid months in LA, and they would be done in Washington, D.C. And this all happened within like a week. And I was like, this is nice. Like,
Planets are aligned.
people are noticing what I'm doing. Because as a little writer, you're so isolated that sometimes you think, I'm the only one here. I'm the only one that notices that I'm working. So that was really great. It's like,
I got a dog. I noticed that she notices when
yeah.
I'm working.
My cat notices when I'm working.
There you go.
She's like, please stop working. Please pet me.
So cool. Okay, so the last time we talked about the good muse a lot. You showering for PETA.
Oh, yeah.
Kittens.
I even blocked
kittens.
that out. That was fun. It's cold. Yeah.
So what are you doing now for the good muse?
Now, so I'm about to finish my 100th volunteer activity. And so this year I've kind of jumped up the pace and done about 20 in a year. And so did my 98th last week, my 99th yesterday, my 100th on Tuesday. Oddly enough, it was really easy to find 100 projects. I mean, it just a few internet searches, really. And so, giving back, I want it to be clear that giving back is easy. Yeah.
So outside of the good muse, what are you doing?
So I have my plays that are getting done a lot of places. They're now on sale in England. They're on sale across the U.S. and they can be ordered online, but they're getting produced everywhere. So that takes a bit of time. It's like talking to theater directors and whatnot. And I love it. I love keeping tabs on everybody, and hopefully I'll get to go see a few more this year. And then I'm working on 2 new plays, and these will be full length. One is a comedy and one is more of a drama. And that's my big project in the new year. I'll finish those in the new year and get them out into the world. So,
what is that like, having something like that produced? I mean, that must be like...
It's
like watching a baby grow up and go away and calling in, checking in, or
I do. I liken it to childbirth. I think like producing a play and having it, and you produce this thing that came from almost nothing. Maybe you're like Shakespeare and you borrowed a plot or 2, but you produce this new thing and then you send it out to the world. You're like, please treat it okay. And it's amazing. It's one of the greatest highs I think that anybody could ever experience. No need for drugs or any kind of substances in my life. I am more than happy to see my plays out there.
So do directors call you for advice?
No, sometimes I get to drop in on rehearsals. If they're local or if I'm in the area, artistic directors will call me to see if they can do them, which is great. And the answer is always yes. Yes.
Why would you say no?
And then, sometimes I get to see it in production and I give them something helpful or input. Sometimes I don't, and I walk in to the theater to see it that night, and I'm like, whose play is this? It's great. Who did that? That was wonderful. So,
Fabulous script.
it's fabulous work. But yeah, no. So it is like seeing your children go off into the world. I think. So I would think.
So the last time we were here, we talked about the survival job, but I never asked you what the survival job was.
Yeah, I've always been hired to write for companies, different things. Right now I work for a very cool startup. It's very fast paced. I handle everything, writing any kind of copy for them, and so I like writing for different companies and whatnot. If as far as survival goes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about the children's book.
The children's book is about a girl who travels. It's a novel, actually a children's novel, so 8 to 12-year-olds.
Cool.
And she's a mini Sherlock Holmes. And so we get to see her travel for the first time, kind of get thrown into countries and places where she has no friends, family, nothing, and like learning to adapt. And so it's kind of about a little person like learning to be independent and learning new things and how valuable that is.
So anything in the new year we should be watching for?
I'm trying to think. Just the 2 new plays. I mean, not just. You should always look for the...
What are they called?
Right now, one's called Shakespeare and Company.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on staying at Shakespeare and Company in Paris. And then the other one is called Timeless right now. But it might change. That's my working title.
Right.
One cause I'm going to focus a lot on is getting more women to write and be behind the camera. And there is a severe lack of women in any kind of executive position in Hollywood. Only 18% of plays produced last year were female written.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a shame. The numbers haven't changed for almost 100 years. It's ridiculous. So that'll be one of my focuses, getting like young women to write, get their voices heard. And I think I think it all is like a trickle down effect. We don't have executives. Most of the executives are male, and they don't then hire the female writers. They don't buy the female pilots, TV pilots, and because there's a glut of male writers, they're not writing female characters. Maybe because they don't understand them, but it's just harder to write something that you're
right.
not. All your characters usually have something to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think more female voices need to be heard, and how to do that is to start, all the way back in the offices.
Well, and I think the education side of that is changing too, which is crazy. More women are graduated from college, so
yeah,
I think eventually it's going to have to go that way.
Yeah, and people ask me like, why do you think that more women don't go into writing? And I think one of the big things, and hopefully it's changing, is I know when I was coming up, there was a perception that women aren't funny, and that was told to me point blank at Groundlings. And, yeah. And that was just something they said. They used to say, you would look at the company, and if there were, let's say, 10 places, they'd go, well, 8 are going to men, and there'll be 2 places available for women. And you were like, why? It's just a convention, women aren't funny. And you just accepted it. That's how it is. And then also the idea, sometimes people will talk to me about my plays and be like, oh, that's racy, or oh, I can't believe you discussed that topic. Or, or in the South, where my family's from, they'll be like, good girls don't talk about stuff like that. And so it's this like, no, just stay quiet and be happy with what you are. And don't talk about things quite so much. So that's what all of my work has hopefully been about, is like, no, let's talk about some stuff.
No, I'm not going to stand here and look pretty for you. Thank you very much.
Let's talk about, doing good, or, women being empowered. Or, let's talk about all that. So, yeah. It'll be a mission in the new year.
Going forward, what's your big, hairy goal?
I want to be that female playwright that people go, oh, I mean, my ultimate goal, which is a little high, is I want to be, when people list like their favorite playwrights through time, and they go, oh, there was Shakespeare, and there was Oscar Wilde, and Tennessee Williams, and Christopher Durang, and Raegan Payne. Like, all those 4 names I listed before are men. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to be on that list, and I'd like to be a woman on that list, you know, and who knows? I mean, you have to have big goals, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, yeah, but I just want to keep writing and producing, and, you know, Oscar Wilde wrote novels and plays and was an essayist, and Shakespeare thought of himself as a poet, so I don't want to just limit myself to one thing. I want to keep experimenting. So, if I'm uncomfortable and it's pushing me a little too far, I'm happy.
A lot of people say, you know, that nervousness, that, you know, on the edge, being a little, I'm not so sure about this, that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I felt 100% comfortable in something, then I probably have done it too much. And I'm probably going to lose my edge because I'm not paying enough attention to it. It's kind of old hat. I think that's something that you'll hear a lot if you talk to people that start businesses or whatnot, is they keep having to push their edge. Because if you become complacent, you lose your competitive nature, you stop looking at it because you can do it on autopilot. So I absolutely always want to kind of be at my edge where I'm comfortable.
To ask the question again, what's the one thing that you think everyone should know about living a creative life?
I think it's what I said to you before. That's what I would think this year it's about. You know, that's the thing. It always changes, and you should always be trying something new and pushing your edge. Yeah, you're going to find things that you do really well, but you can't keep doing that same thing over and over again. Like, people aren't going to read the 10th version of my play Things Unsaid, which they tend to like. Like, they're not going to just keep reading that one play. I've got to try to write something new, or maybe a children's book. So yeah, that's what it's about, living life creatively. It's trying things, be creative, create new things. So, you know, it just reminded me, the great novelists, I did some research, so I was working on my baby Sherlock Holmes book. A lot of the great writers, like Dickens and everyone, were always trying new things. Dickens really wanted to be a playwright, and for all accounts, he wasn't that great at it. And so, you know, but he tried. And they all tried. We just don't hear about it that often. J.M. Barrie, who's responsible for Peter Pan, that was a play. Most people associate it with now a Disney movie, you know. So it's like you have to try different forms, even, of what you do. Because something's going to be brilliant if you do.
Tell us where people can find out more about you.
They can always go to the Good Muse Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/thegoodmuse, one word, or thegoodmuse.com is the blog, and I'll still be volunteering. I'll still be posting up about that. It might be a little more essay-like this next year, more reflective. And I'll also post new plays and new works up there as well.
Thanks for being on the trailer.
Thank you for having me again. It was so nice to see it.
Yay!
Yay.
When it's not torrential rain and
Yes.
40 degrees.
My friends were like, at first, when it first started, we saw you sitting on a bed with this other hot woman, and we kind of thought, I was like, it didn't go that way. No, it's not.
Didn't go down that way.
It's not quite that. No.
It's not as exciting as you think.
It's not. Sorry.